Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to another video, and this is going to be a new series I like to call What If, in which I take a movie and I give my opinion on where it should go next. Now, the first topic of this series is going to be about Friday the 13th. Now, I have a close connection to Friday the 13th. I was born in 1990, so the first series of horror movies I saw was Friday the 13th, and when I was a little kid, I gravitated towards the character of Jason. Now, I didn't gravitate toward the killing aspect of Jason. I want to clarify this because every time I say I can relate to Jason, people look at me like I'm crazy, because you forget that Jason also has a tragic backstory. When Jason was a little kid, he was deformed, he was different from everyone else, he was bullied, he was picked on, he was outed, he was an outcast. When I was a little kid, I was bullied. I didn't really fit in with any type of crowd. I didn't really have a whole lot of friends. I could relate to Jason's side. I can relate to that aspect of Jason's character, being an outsider, being bullied, having no friends, always feeling like you're alone. I related to that part of Jason. So that's why as a kid, I had a close connection to Jason. That's why as an adult, I'm still a fan of Friday the 13th. You know, I gravitated to that part of the character. That's been the character of Jason that always attracted me the most than the killing aspect of Jason. Don't get me wrong, Friday the 13th are known for having creative kills, but I think that Jason's backstory gravitated to me the most as a child because of my own experiences that I was going through at that stage of my life. So those are my origins of a Jason fan. Now, of course, I was born in 1990, so I grew up with sequels like Jason Goes to Hell and Jason X, which were just flat out trash. And of course, I got the glory that was Freddy vs. Jason, a fun as balls movie that is just so great to watch. And of course, we get the 2009 reboot, which I think is criminally underrated, and the people who hate it they just don't understand it, or they're just so in their own bubble and think Friday the 13th is such a high art concept that you just shit on it just because it's a Michael Bay remake. Though I call it a reboot because it does not feel like a remake at all. So yeah, so with all that being said, so Jason has been on the movie screens for 13 appearances, counting Freddy vs. Jason. However, his standalone movies right now are at 11. So what I'm going to do is tell you how I would do the 12th solo installment into Jason's story. Now, for some reason, writers in movie studios, they can't seem to grab the concept of a man stalking teenagers at a campsite. For some reason, they're just having so much trouble getting down this concept. And yes, forget all the lawsuits in the background. It's the simple fact that you just can't write a simple story to this. So I'm going to help you out. And yes, I do accept a large sum of money for this idea because I'm a Jason fan. I'm a Friday the 13th fan. I am a horror fan. I know what I like to see, and I know what I would want to see. Friday the 13th, it's a concept that's been done to death. So what do? Let's play around with it. Let's actually really think outside the box a little bit. Let's do a Friday the 13th anthology movie in the same vein as Creepshow. Now, hear me out. Unlike Creepshow, these stories are Jason related. You get 5 characters. You give each segment 10 to 15 minutes. All right, and each 5 of these characters tell a story, either a made-up story about Jason or a personal experience they had encountering Jason. Now, of course, this whole thing is done as a campfire ghost story with all the little campers. And you have these 5 counselors tell these, at the end of the day, ghost stories. However, to the kids, they're ghost stories, but maybe to the counselors and us, the viewers, maybe there's more. Maybe they're just being masked. They're just being masked as ghost stories. Maybe there's something else underneath the surface. We, the viewers, will never know if these stories are true or not. Because the idea of this movie is to really play the fact of Jason being this myth, this urban myth, this tragic story. Like, the events of part 1 happened, and that's it. Maybe the events of parts 1 and 2 happened, and they're detailed, all right? But everything after that, we'll leave that all to speculation, all to the viewer to decide of whether or not this was real or not. Actually, scratch that. Let's have everything be up to part. We'll have everything be up to part 5. Parts 1 through 5 will, and I know part 5 either you like it or hate it, but hear me out. The whole concept of a copycat killer taking the mantle of Jason and then tying into this anthology series, it could work. Ignore all the supernatural events. Part 6 and all the rest, we're gonna, even though I love part 6, we're not gonna have that be canon. Actually, no, we can make it be canon, but we can do it in a different way, so to speak. Right? Those stories, the events of part 6 and beyond, we can tell those stories as if they were fictional tales being told to these little campers by one of these counselors. Say we go to part 6, right? We have campers in that movie. Maybe one of those campers, witnessed an event. Those campers were traumatized. They witnessed the events of that movie. Let's say that one rogue little camper, went running in the woods one day, and through his perspective, we see the events of that movie unfold through this little kid's eyes and how he experienced Jason. And maybe we have a little scene where he actually has a brief little encounter with Jason, tying in to that movie. Same thing with part 7. We'll bring back one of the surviving characters from part 7. Maybe we'll bring back Nick, or maybe we'll bring back Tina as a counselor, or someone who knows the counselors, and they can reiterate a tale as to what happened in part 7. In part 8, maybe bring back Rennie. She can retell a tale what happens with New York. She can retell a tale that happened in New York, or a tale from her past as a child encountering Jason while she was drowning. We get more of that scene. Maybe we'll get some. There's already a flashback of her being drowned, pulled on the lake by Jason. Maybe we can get another encounter she had with Jason as a hallucination in her mind that she thought was real. Really play along with this concept of an anthology movie. Think outside the box. 5 independent stories being told by 5 different characters that in one form or another had an encounter with Jason. And like I said, never have Jason appear in the real world, which is where the stories are being told in. Always keep him in these fictionalized stories. Never have him appear outside these stories. Leave it open to your audience's imagination as to whether or not these stories are just fabricated or there is some truth behind these stories. So and like I said, and of course when all these stories are said and done, these little campers, they're going to be scared out of their minds, right? They're going to be shitting in their bed. And how you end this movie, this is the most brilliant ending to a movie. And I'm not tooting my own horn, but I think this is how you end a movie like this that I'm explaining to you. So what you do is you have this camera just pull back, we get a nice establishing shot of the camp, and we get a nice establishing shot of the Camp Crystal Lake sign, which will be the original sign from the original 1980 movie, that white sign. And what you do is that you have this nice establishing shot of the camp and the sign, right? Then all of a sudden this luminous, large figure slowly walks up to the sign, and his shadow completely engulfs the sign. Cut to black, play the credits, pay me now, please. That is how you end this movie. You never have Jason appear in the real world. You keep it open, you keep it vague. Was that Jason? Was that a bear? What was that shadow? What is going on here? Give your audience credit. Give your audience credit. Let your audience decide as to whether or not Jason is actually alive in the real world, or if it's something else entirely. Maybe it's not Jason. Like I said, it could be a bear, it could be an animal, it could be another human being, just a regular human being strolling into the campsite. We will never know if that shadowy figure walking up to the campsite was Jason or something else entirely. Leave it so open-ended that it gets people wanting to know if a sequel be made further explaining that ending or not. Personally speaking, I think that this anthology series should be the last Friday the 13th movie to ever be made in terms of standalone Jason movies, and we just spin Jason off into having just versus battles for the rest of his career. Never have another standalone Friday the 13th movie. This should be your final closure of the series. Bringing back some original characters to play camp counselors, or people that the camp counselors know and decided to bring in to help them take care of the kids and tell stories to. You know, like I said, this is a very interesting concept you can play with. It enables you to bring back some past characters. It enables you to bring back characters, make up new characters, and, you know, retcon those characters into being a part of the Friday the 13th canon as to when they were kids. Really play along with this thing. Have fun with these stories as well. You know, do something with this. This is a concept that is so, it's a simple concept that I've given you, but it enables you to have creative freedom as well with these little vignettes and little stories, because you can make, like I said, these 10 to 15 minute mini movies intercut with transitional scenes of, you know, reactions of little kids after each story is being told to them, and, you know, and bantering dialogue between the counselors and the little kids too, segueing into another segment. Really play along with this thing. I think it can make for a damn good Friday the 13th movie. I think it can make for an original Friday the 13th movie, which, let's face it, originality in Friday the 13th is very hard to come by. So I think having it be like this, an anthology movie, it could work. It could really work. And you can really play with the aspect of Jason being more of a ghost story as opposed to this imposing real-world physical threat. So yeah, that is my opinion of how a new Friday the 13th movie should be about. Let me know in the comment section if you like this idea. Also, let me know if you have any ideas on how the next Friday the 13th movie should play out. Anyway, my name is AJ Legend. Subscribe to my channel and like this video, and I'll catch you next time for more.